huomenta ja tervetuloa What's Next 2021 verkkoseminaariin. Minun nimeni on Markku Brask ja toimin Suomen markkina-alueesta vastaavana myyjänä Nextwaylle. Ja toimin myös teidän juontajana tässä meidän vuotuisessa What's Next-seminaarissa. Tänäkin vuonna seminaari pidetään verkossa. Saimme hyvää palautetta viime vuonna verkossa pidetyn seminaarin jälkeen ja vaikka olisikin mukava tavata kasvotusten, niin ehkä tämä palautteen perusteella nyt ainakin näinä aikoina on hyvä tapa hoitaa tämä asia. Joten kiitos palautteesta ja tosi hienoa, että pääsit mukaan. Erityiskiitokset asiakkaillemme Spiegeltech, Torm ja Sveitsin lainantakausosuuskunnat yhdessä Kellerhaus Garardin kanssa, että teitte tämän verkkoseminaarin mahdolliseksi. Omasta puolestani odotan kuulevani heidän tarinansa seuraavan 90 minuutin aikana. Tällä kertaa näytämme, kuinka digitaalinen työskentelykokemus saadaan seuraavalle tasolle inspiroivien asiakaskokemusten kautta. Meille Nextwaylle digitaalinen online-työskentely oli tietysti jo aivan normaalia ennen COVID-19kin. Ja vaikka ajateltiin, että digitaalinen työskentely on kaikkien tulevaisuutta, niin yllätyttiin kyllä silti, että kuinka nopeasti tämä kehitys tapahtuu, nyt kun ollaan pari vuotta melkein kotikonttoreilla työskennelty. Adaptoituminen tähän digitaaliseen online-työskentelyyn eteni kyllä huimaavia harppauksia ihan muutamissa kuukausissa. Ja Microsoftin mukaan yritykset käytti maailmanlaajuisesti pilvipalveluihin $35 miljardia 2 kuukaudessa, mikä vastaa 2 vuoden kulutusta digitaalisiin palveluihin aiemmin. Ja näinä aikoina useat yritykset tietysti kiihdytti suunnitelmiaan tämän digitaalisen työskentelyn mahdollistamiseksi. Aiemmin lykättyjä investointeja on aktivoitu ja vaikka kaikki tämä onkin melko uutta, niin kyllä nämä hyödyt, kuten joustava työskentely, lisääntynyt tuottavuus, alemmat operointikustannukset ja lisääntynyt kannattavuus niin on ihan selkeitä ja merkittäviä hyötyjä. No me Nextwaylla uskotaan tietysti vahvasti tähän digitaaliseen online-yhteistyöhön ja siitä on tulossa entistäkin tärkeämpää yrityksille kaikkialla. Niinpä tämän vuoden What's Next-verkkoseminaarin teemana on, että kuinka juuri sinä voit edistää digitaalista työskentelyä ja mahdollistaa myös kollegoille työskentelyn ajasta ja paikasta riippumatta, tehokkaasti ja turvallisesti. Käsittelemme aiheita kuten jäsennelty digitaalinen ryhmätyöskentely, helpot pilvipalvelut, tehokas prosessi, automaatio sekä luodinkestävä salaus. Ja kaikkia uusia Nextiin tulossa olevia ominaisuuksia, jotka tekee jokapäiväistä työskentelystä vieläkin nopeampaa ja fiksumpaa. Ja näistä aiheista teille on tänään kertomassa Sten Munksgaard, Henrik Basch, Marcel Ritter, Torben Ries ja Kim Hellum. Sten Munksgaard Sveitsistä kertoo meille, miten itävaltalainen konsultoiva insinööritoimisto Spiegeltech käyttää Next Digital Workplacea helpottamaan tehokasta projektiyhteistyötä yli 250 tekniikan asiantuntijan kesken. Ja kuinka he jakaa jopa 30 000 projektidokumentin materiaaleja kaikkien projektiin osallistuvien kesken. Ja omassa roolissaan tuotepäällikkönä Sten on ollut tiiviisti mukana tässä projektissa. Modernit yritykset ympäri maailman siirtyy käyttämään pilvipalveluita. Niin tekee myös tanskalainen Torm, yksi maailman johtavista jalostettujen öljytuotteiden kuljettajista. Opi, kuinka SaaS-pohjainen sopimushallinta sopii heidän pilvistrategiaansa ja miksi se on järkevää yli 50 maata kattavassa kokonaisuudessa. Tästä tulee kertomaan Tormin asiakkuudesta kaupallisesti vastuussa oleva Nextway CCO Henrik Basch. Lähes kaikissa Euroopan maissa hallitusten on täytynyt ottaa käyttöön ohjelmia yritysten ja yksityisten kotitalouksien taloudelliseksi tukemiseksi COVID-19-pandemian aikana. Miljardeja kruunuja, Englannin puntia, euroja, Sveitsin frangeja on myönnetty avustuksina ja lainoina. Kaikki eivät osallistu näihin ohjelmiin vilpittömässä mielessä. Ja nyt kuulet Marcel Ritteriltä, kuinka Sveitsin lainantakausosuuskunnat ja Kellerhaus Garard, yksi Sveitsin suurimmista asianajotoimistoista, käyttävät Next Digital Workplacea puuttuakseen väärinkäytöksiin syyllistyneiden yritysten tukiin. Uskoakseni monet meistä pelkäävät sitä päivää, kun uutisotsikoissa on luottamuksellista tai arkaluonteisia tietoja yrityksestämme. Ei kilpailijasta eikä viereisestä yrityksestä, mutta meidän yrityksestä. Pelkästään tämän ääneen sanominen saa jo vatsanväänteitä aikaan. Jos sinusta tuntuu samalta, et arvosta seuraavana esityslistalla olevaa aihetta. Tässä Torben johtava arkkitehtimme osoittaa, kuinka helppoa on lukea asiakirjoja, joiden uskot pysyvän turvassa salauksella. Lopuksi Kim Hellum, teknologiajohtajamme sekä tuotteistamme ja SaaS-palveluista vastaava johtaja, kertoo sinulle uusista asioista, jotka ovat tulossa Next Digital Workplaceen. Azure-pilvipalvelut, Salesforce ja Teams-integraatiot sekä tekoäly ja paljon muuta tehostamaan työpäivääsi. Sitten pyydän Stenin paikalle. Kerro meille, kuinka SpiegelTech käyttää Next Digital Workplacea helpottaakseen tehokasta projektityötä.
Hello, my name is Sten Munksgaard. I'm a product manager at Nextway, and I also have the privilege of being project manager in a document management project with our customer SpiegelTech in Austria. Today, I'd like to share some of the interesting findings and outcomes of the project, as well as what this has meant to our product platform Next, with specific emphasis on project collaboration. In my presentation today, I will take a look at some of the challenges that are often encountered when working together in complex and large project teams. This was also the case at SpiegelTech when we first initiated the dialogue with them more than a year ago, and the reason why they were looking for a solution to boost their collaboration across their organization, both internal and external. Finally, I will present a few of the successful outcomes of the joint project where SpiegelTech and Nextway developed a CAD workspace environment based on the Next platform. SpiegelTech is an engineering company with emphasis on project management and planning, working with customers in the chemical and pharmaceuticals industries. At SpiegelTech, they work with large and complex projects with project lifecycle periods from a few months to several years. During a project lifecycle, multiple business tools and different aids are used, like office applications, CAD design programs, project planning tools, etc. A lot of different data types and formats are in use. Working together, not only within the SpiegelTech project teams, but also with external project members like customers, partners, sub-suppliers, etc. Information sharing can be difficult without a common platform. Therefore, SpiegelTech was at the lookout for a unified platform, a document management system, to be used as a central and single point of truth for their project work and collaboration. Working across organizations and therefore also across networks sets high requirements for the security as well, but at the same time without limiting the flexibility and accessibility for the project team members. When employees at SpiegelTech work in a project team, they find themselves in different environments and so-called workspaces. They could work in office using on-prem tools. They could also work in office using cloud-based tools, or they could be working remote or in home office using different tools. After having carried out an internal feasibility study, SpiegelTech identified a need for having a single and central digital platform to support these different workspaces, and also support existing and future business tools, as well as many different information types and formats. Therefore, SpiegelTech turned to Nextway to understand how the Next platform could support them in this future vision. So, after detailed dialogue between SpiegelTech and Nextway, it was mutually agreed that the whole project lifecycle at SpiegelTech could be supported by the Next Enterprise Archive. That means when a SpiegelTech employee or project manager starts a project, he or she creates a container that can be shared across the whole project team. Then the project members start building their digital work using either their business tools on-premise or in cloud, either initially storing them in the usual repositories or even better in Next. And when they're ready to share the work, the SpiegelTech project members can publish it to Next, making it available to others both internally and externally. More complex objects, like for example advanced 3D CAD drawings, consisting of multiple files and structured objects, can also be conserved in Next as compound documents. Having stored complex objects, or compound documents as we now call them, in Next, others can now download and continue the work using their own tools. Now, I've talked about SpiegelTech, but who are they? Who would be better to tell you about that than SpiegelTech themselves? Here's a brief video interview with their managing director, Mr. Christian Peintner.
Wir als Spiegeltech sind seit über 20 Jahren in der Planung von anspruchsvollen, komplexen Projekten, vor allem in der chemischen und pharmazeutischen Industrie tätig. Wir sind gestartet als Prozessplaner und haben uns in den letzten 20 Jahren zum Generalplaner entwickeln können. Das heißt, wir setzen heute für unsere Kunden komplexe, umfassende Projekte, ausgehend von der verfahrenstechnischen Planung über die Elektrotechnik, Automatisierungstechnik und viel mehr, was in einem Projekt anfällt, ganzheitlich um. Wir starten bei sehr kleinen Projekten im Consulting-Bereich, die über wenige Monate dauern, bis hin zu großen Generalplanerprojekten, die mit einem Team von bis zu 80 Mitarbeitern aus verschiedensten Disziplinen auch ein gesamthaftes Projekt dann über zum Beispiel 3 Jahre abwickeln. Da spielen die digitalen Medien natürlich eine zentrale Rolle. In unseren Projekten entwickelt sich viel hin zum papierlosen Büro. Das heißt, auch dort diese digitale Umgebung ist entscheidend für die Zusammenarbeit mit unseren Kunden, Partnern und allen, die in unsere Projekte involviert sind. Bei der Auswahl unseres Dokumentenmanagementsystems ist eine lange Evaluierungsphase vorangegangen. Für uns war es wichtig, neben dem System selbst einen Partner zu finden, der mit uns ein für Spiegeltech passendes System entwickelt und etabliert. Das haben wir bei Nextway als Partner vollumfänglich gefunden. Einerseits ein modernes, anpassbares System, andererseits einen Partner, der wie wir auch an der Materie ist und flexibel persönlich im Projekt agiert.
So, now you're probably wondering how the Next Enterprise Archives can support collaborative work in large project teams and how it will be able to handle large and complex CAD files. Let's take a look at some of the new features we introduced this year. Depending on your background, working with documents in folders will be a natural thing. But some people prefer folders, others do not. Using Next, we have for a long time tried to convince everyone that folders are obsolete, but they are actually not. In certain situations, a folder hierarchy can be a good way to structure your work, and Next will continue to support this. And we've improved our folders in Next, and now they've even become smart. To Spiegeltech, this means that they can keep the project folder structure that they and their customers are used to. They can even export this folder structure for external document handover. They can also have up-to-date project information directly available from the project folders in Next. And they can easily define new and flexible folders based on the actual project data. Complex objects like, for example, advanced 3D CAD drawings consisting of multiple files and structured objects can now also be added to Next as compound documents. Spiegeltech can add an entire folder structure, including subfolders and files, into one compressed object and store it with their existing project documents in Next. Any type of complex object is supported, like CAD drawings, associated drawing files, graphical design files, and much more. Digital assets, that means shared objects like CAD blocks, logos, photos, audio, video, etc. can be added to and maintained in Next and reused by others. Working with a multitude of tools, some of them even legacy, many of them relying on accessing files and standard objects through a file system. This is now also possible with Next. Sharing selected objects and files that are maintained in Next, and at the same time they can be exposed to Spiegeltech employees who need them available through the network file system. Once stored in Next, the asset is immediately available in the latest version in the network file system. Collaborating in project teams also sets requirements for who, when and how project information and digital work can be accessed. Over the course of a project lifecycle, Spiegeltech project members and their roles also do change. With a traditional user group-based permissions approach, this can be handled. However, not always fully flexible or dynamic enough for fast-working project teams. Therefore, Nextway came up with a new permissions concept in Next based on roles. That means roles that can easily be changed over time and immediately reflected in the individual access to files and documents in Next. So working in a project as a project manager at Spiegeltech, you would only get access to documents for projects where your role is associated to. The role assignment can be controlled inside Next, or even, as in the case with Spiegeltech, linked to the business system holding project and team role information. So a lot of new product features have been added to Next, ensuring that Spiegeltech will be able to continue their project collaboration in many years to come. These new features and more to come will support any organization handling project data, documents, creative work and team collaboration using one unified solution, namely Next, whether on-premise or in the cloud. That was it. Project collaboration with Next. Thank you for your time.
Kiitos Sten ja Spiegeltech. Mikä mielenkiintoinen projekti. Olen varma, että muutkin inspiroituvat Spiegeltechin ponnisteluista. Riippumatta siitä, ovatko heidän asiantuntijansa insinöörejä, graafisia suunnittelijoita, arkkitehtejä tai muita asiantuntijoita. Seuraavaksi pyydän paikalle Henrikin. Kuulemme Tormin kokemuksia kokonaisvaltaisesta pilvipalvelusta ja siitä, miksi SaaS-pohjainen sopimushallinta on heille järkevä valinta.
Crazy footage. I don't know what it does to your stomach, but I get easily seasick. So guess you can imagine that I'm not particularly fond of such a video. Hello everyone, my name is Henrik Boss. I'm commercial responsible for Torm, the customer who owns and operates the vessel you just saw in this video. Over the course of the next 10 to 15 minutes, I'll share some of Torm's motivation for and experience with managing the contracts that are vital to run the business and managing the contracts in the cloud. I'll start out with some facts and figures on Torm's businesses. Then I'll sketch out the strategic position that Torm found themselves in and outline the practical operational challenges they faced. Then I will introduce briefly the next contract solution to you and summarize some of the takeaways, the good ones and the bad ones that Torm had implementing Next contracts in the cloud. That's my plan for now. A few facts on Torm. Torm was founded in 1889 and Torm is now one of the world leading specialist carriers of energy and clean petroleum products, owning and operating more than 80 vessels around the globe, servicing countries all over the world with 3,400 seafarers and supported by 350 land-based employees in 8 international offices. Today an operation with an annual revenue of $747 million. In 2020, the world came to a halt due to COVID-19. And we saw a sharp decline in demand for oil products. With demand almost gone and limited inventory capacity ashore, the global fleet of product tankers was soon tied up as floating storage. Supply and demand rules, freight rates jumped to an all-time high, but still oil trade flow kept at a low levels into 2021. A truly exciting market where you can make it or break it big time. Prior to 2020, Torm performed a comprehensive review of its key strategic choices, its business model and its organization. Torm found that the integrated nature of their operating platform, the One Torm platform, offered essential value across Torm. And they took new initiatives to outperform the product tanker market, especially with a focus on operational flexibility and efficiency. A bold and necessary response to critical market challenges. This strategic review revealed a number of operational challenges related to the management of essential business contracts. At Torm, as in most companies, contract management was decentralized, to put it kindly. Vital business contracts were stored in filing cabinets throughout the different offices, some locked into Excel files, and many placed on network drives. And also a lot put into a customized SharePoint solution and other tools for contract management. No structured access leads to a complete lack of centralized overview and missing up-to-date management information. In addition to that, the obvious practical shortcomings of a manual-based solution, as the missing automatic reminders when contracts are to be handled, cancelled, renewed or renegotiated, and many other important deadlines. To sum it all up, Torm came to the conclusion that a decentralized and manual-based solution is not aligned with a one-Torm strategy and does not fit well with an efficient and flexible operation. So what did Torm do about it and why? Torm opted for our standard contract management solution called Next Contracts. And it was vital to Torm that it should run in the cloud. In this case, our cloud, powered by Microsoft Azure. First of all, a unified approach to contract handling is a perfect fit with the one Torm strategy. Secondly, with several hundred users in multiple locations throughout the world, you need shared standardized tools that facilitate cross-border and interdepartmental collaboration. The automated process and integration to Microsoft NAV increased efficiency, enabled scalability and reduced errors and secured business continuity. Before selecting Next Contract, it was tested and tried by Torm employees, simply to make sure that the solution would be easily adaptable. Only the tools that were actually being used bring value. Finally, the fact that Next Contract is offered in the cloud fits well with the Torm cloud-first strategy. No new infrastructure to buy, no new infrastructure to implement, no new infrastructure to run, to update and keep secure. Everything is handled by Nextway and Microsoft. I won't do a detailed demo of Next Contracts for you at this time. Just showcase a few of the features. If you want to see more, you're more than welcome to call us or contact us on our homepage. Next Contracts provides you with a unified contract repository available from anywhere in the world, with a PC, a laptop or a mobile application. It's dialed in to your corporate security setup using OAuth, SAML or Enterprise Single Sign-On. It provides you with business intelligence at your fingertips for your vital contracts. It gives you lightning fast and easy to use searches and overview of your contract repository. It automates you to help remembering deadlines and milestones. It gives you the ability to notify yourself and other colleagues or even people outside your organization with these deadlines and milestones. And of course, strict security and compliance with your business rules around contracts. To put it short, more or less everything you need to handle your important business contracts. And in this case, in the cloud. Let's take a look at the lessons learned by Torm. The status now is that almost every single important business contract and agreement is stored in Next. It's with fast and easy searches in Next, and now they can get access to the contracts 24/7 and access them from everywhere for everyone. A new single source of truth when it comes to contracts has been created across locations and time zones, even from home in these days, or on the road, or at sea. Strict permission controls for who can see and do what in Next Contracts. Nothing is left to coincidence in that case. The automatic reminders keep everyone on their toes and secure that things now happen in time when it comes to dealing with contracts. And Tom has added yet another piece to the corporate cloud puzzle. When I asked Hanne, the head of application management at Tom, about her honest feedback, her answer is, wow, it was a rough ride getting there. I think you forgot to tell us that we were the pioneers on this one, said with a smile. But luckily, she also answers, from a user's point of view, it's a great solution. Easy to use, with automatic notifications when you need to act on something. And from the IT point of view, we no longer need to worry about keeping the application and the servers up to date. That's been taken care of. So thank you. And also thank you to you, Hanne, for this honest feedback. We appreciate honest feedback. And it is true that Tom got some bruises from being the first on our software as a service platform for contracts. Actually, it's now thanks to Tom that we are now able to spin up a new cloud customer in the matter of minutes and have them on board in the matter of days. Luckily, Tom is now in quieter waters when it comes to their contracts. I owe them a deepful thanks for sharing their experience and finding it with us today, but certainly also for pioneering on our software as a service solution, making the Voyager for anyone else so much easier. For you, I hope you found their story valuable. We wish them all the best on their onwards journey towards a complete and integrated cloud-based IT landscape. Thank you for your time, and remember, of course, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us anytime. Thank you.
Kiitos Henrik ja kiitos Torm. Jos haluat kuulla lisää Next as a Service-palvelusta, lähetä minulle viesti, niin otamme sinuun yhteyttä. Ja sitten on Marcelin vuoro. Kerro meille, kuinka Kellerhard Skarad ja Sveitsin lainantakausosuuskunnat käyttävät Next Digital Workplacea puuttuakseen väärinkäytöksiin syyllistyneiden yritysten tukiin, säästäen samalla tuhansia hallinnollisia työtunteja.
Hi, my name is Marcel Ritter. I'm the Managing Director in Switzerland and Senior Vice President Finance. It's my pleasure to give you a bit an insight of COVID loan management in Switzerland, done with Next Digital Workplace. This solution was established together with the Swiss Guarantee Cooperatives and Kellerhals-Karat, a leading law company in Switzerland. I would like to give you a little intro on the Swiss Guarantee Cooperatives and later on also regarding Kellerhals-Karat. The Swiss Guarantee Cooperatives support small and medium enterprises in startup phase, investments, succession plan in Switzerland. As a partner to the SMEs, they give guarantees up to 1 million Swiss francs, like 900,000 euros, for loans to the banks, and therefore help the companies to get the needed loans in an easy and secure way. When we look at Kellerhals-Karat, we see one of the most traditional and largest law firm in Switzerland. Founded 1885, Kellerhals-Karat today has over 400 employees all over Switzerland. Let's take a look at the case they faced. When COVID hits us first time in March 2020, at least in most parts of Europe, governments had to act fast and established possibilities to request COVID loans for companies. In Switzerland, about 140,000 used the possibility to get up a loan of 500,000 Swiss francs, which is around 470,000 euros, based on their 2019 turnover, and this only in 30 minutes of time. After the first initial phase, the loan guarantee cooperatives, Bürgschaftsgenossenschaften so called in Switzerland, have given a mandate to Kellerhals-Karat to handle potential fraud cases. It was estimated that this case will rise to eventually 10,000 within the next 8 years. Collaboration with the tools given was a huge task. And these you can't hardly handle when various companies in different locations, in cases spread over Switzerland, are involved. Furthermore, the involved parties use different tools in their daily work life. A solution had to be in place that standardized the way of working and at the same time was easy to use, that only little training was needed. In June 2010, around 600 cases were processed. And we remember that estimate lay on about 10,000 cases. The efforts were already huge, and at the same time it was known that the number of cases will increase to a large level during 2020. You can imagine that the employees that were on the task already were not happy at all, as with 600 cases to work with already caused some large efforts, especially in the daily reporting routine. To scale that work up, there is actually two options. Hire more people in, or introduce a solution that let you up but also downscale easily. So we introduced Next in record time. I am over 20 years in the industry and I'm really proud to say that we never did a project with such a wide scope in such a short time. For me it's clear, with Next we have a product that comes with standard features that allows us to move fast. And together with a professional project management on both sides, only this made it possible to have a go live starting July 2020. And we were not only in a go live phase after this short time, but also had virtual training sessions with about 100 persons in different locations and held in different languages. And all of this 100% virtual from day one. Let's take a closer look at the solution where we implemented. Unfortunately, I will not be able to give you a live presentation, but I'm sure you understand that this is a highly sensitive data. But nevertheless, let's touch on the 4 pillars. Case management. To manage the various cases, we have defined teams based on the 4 different guarantee cooperatives, and then also with Kellerhalt's card based on language, region and competences. So we had about 10 different teams working with the solution. Please remember, we do have 4 language regions in Switzerland, so already this fact makes it a bit more complex. All the team members can do ad hoc reporting at any time, and for that we have around 30 different reporting possibilities, from clarification to guilty, industry, geographical region and so on. And it goes actually without saying that the status from different cases can be managed by any time. If we look at the document handling part, here we have chosen to set up all on the standards again, but also have chosen not to use searches, guided searches, as we also can use in Next, but the good old folder structures. Here a virtual one, but it looks actually a little bit as you would like to work in a Windows folder structure. It's not necessarily the best way to work with documents, but it's the way easier to onboard people on a platform if it looks and feels similar to the Windows file structure that they used to work with. And here we have different securities to apply. For example, KC internal, it's only for documents that can be seen by members of Kellerhalt's card. Working papers that none of the other involved companies need to see. And then there is other information for all the members like emails, various documents and so on. And as Next is completely revision proofed, we do know who did what and when at every time, nailed to the second. And as you see, we have all the standard feature available that makes life so much easier, like involve a colleague or set an alarm on a document if you need to do something, for example, on Friday. When you need to work together, a DMS alone is not enough. The process engine, which is part of Next, gives the extra options they need in the daily work. As a team member, I see at any time which task lay on my desk. and furthermore also what tasks are with my colleagues. I can accept, delegate or even reject tasks if I'm not the right person for the job. And the admin can see all the tasks spread all over the platform. And everything on documents but also on the task get a revision if you like or not. And even worse, the system is also capable to log when someone only sneaks around in documents but not really work with them. We call it ulog. Last but not least, the reporting, which is extremely important to the client. As on a daily basis, completely standardized, we send reports to the Easy Government platform where the figures get published. Some of you may know this page. It's the Swiss page, it's the government page for handling the cases but also doing the reporting. And here you see the figures, the snapshot of the figures where we get or where we do the reporting with. And when you scroll down a bit, you also see some figures which represent the reports out of Next. Today we have one joint platform. Over 8,500 cases are managed in Next with a value of over 140 million Swiss francs. Over 100 persons all over Switzerland collaborate in Next day by day, from Carlyle's card and the other parties. The reporting is done 100% automatically on the daily basis, archived in Next and sent as a PDF report to the stakeholders. With that said, I change to my last slide and be quiet for a little while. As I think this quote speaks for itself. It was my pleasure to give you a bit of insight. Please contact me if you have any questions at any time. Thank you.
Kiitos Marcel. Ja suurkiitokset Kellerhaus Karadille ja Sveitsin lainantakausosuuskunnille mielenkiintoisten taustatietojen jakamisesta. Merkityksellistä meille kaikille näin kansalaisina. Ja seuraavaksi valmistaudu pilaamaan hyvät yöunet. Torben, kerro meille, miksi arkaluontoiset asiakirjat eivät välttämättä ole turvassa vain siksi, että olet salannut ne.
Do you remember the Sony picture hack, where hackers, probably not Koreans, in 2014 broke into Sony Pictures' IT infrastructure, ruined thousands of computers and stole trade secrets and other sensitive personal informations? Before Sony went dark, it wiped out half of Sony's digital network. Within an hour, they went back to the 80s using fax machines and pens and papers. Besides the public embarrassment, it costed Sony millions of dollars in added cost, lost revenue, and multiple lawsuits. And what about the Panama Papers? In 2016, someone, probably an employee at the law firm Mossack Fonseca, released 11.5 million highly confidential business documents. It's around 2.1 terabyte of data. It revealed systematic tax fraud using shell companies and involved some highly prominent clients. The consequences? The company is simply no longer in business. I'll not be the judge whether this is for the good or the bad, but it's indeed quite thought-provoking that such a number of documents can leave the perimeter without being detected, and even in an unencrypted form. To me, it smells like direct file system access. These are just 2 out of thousands of data breaches happening all over and all the time. And even if you don't mess with the North Koreans and you don't do tax fraud, you still have sensitive documents. Documents that you can't afford getting to the news or to your competitors. These 2 examples, Sony and Panama, serves to remind us that a perimeter fence is great to have. Do whatever you can to keep them out, but it's not enough. Sooner or later, someone will get on the inside. And if the fence is all you will have, you will indeed be vulnerable. This leads into today's talk about cryptography, how it works, what can go wrong, and what we're doing next. By definition, encryption is divided into 2 distinct topics, symmetric encryption and asymmetric encryption. Symmetric encryption uses a single key to both encrypt and decrypt data, and is often used for data at rest. Whereas asymmetric encryption uses key pair, a public and a private key respectively, to encrypt and decrypt data. Whenever you are browsing a secure website or signing a document, it's asymmetric encryption behind the scenes. The Advanced Encryption Standard is an example of symmetric encryption. Whenever you're using AES, you're using a symmetric block cipher. It transforms 128 bits of data into 128 bits of ciphertext. It's a substitute and permutate design where rows and columns are shuffled around. It works a little bit like a Rubik's Cube. You arrange your 16 bytes in a 4.5 matrix and then you shuffle rows and columns around. 10 rounds is AES 128 and 14 rounds is AES 256. You're probably thinking 16 bytes is not much to play around with, and you will probably like to encrypt something larger. And this is where modes of operations come into account. The default mode in nearly all programming languages for combining blocks of ciphertext is called electronic codebook. It basically just appends blocks of ciphertext sequentially. Let's take a look at this image. I wrote a program that took this image as an input. Using the programming language default settings for AES 256, I encrypted the image data but left the image header and the format information untouched. And it gave me this result. Visualizing encryption is a powerful thing. It's easy to see that maybe your secret is not as secret as you would have thought. And remember, this image is actually encrypted using a 256-bit AES cipher. But the default mode that comes with your system or programming languages is far often very bad. And even if you did take a look at the binary output of this encryption, you will probably not have detected the repeatable patterns. But by visualizing it, you certainly do. Luckily enough, alternative modes of operations exist. You have probably all heard about the Gallia's counter mode, or in short terms, AES GCM. It's a different mode that instead of encrypting the plain text itself, it encrypts a nonce plus a counter and then XORs the ciphertext with your input data. And as you can see, the repeatable patterns does no longer exist. AES GCM 256-bit is the mode that you should use today. It's also the recommendation from NIST, National Institute of Standards and Technologies. So use encryption right, be specific, use AES GCM, not just AES. Another important thing regarding symmetric encryption is key management. You must protect your keys properly. There is this classical phrase that hackers don't break encryption, they find your keys. And there's some truth into this. It's close to impossible to brute force AES, but careless key management is like hiding your key under the doormat. Another classical misuse is key reusage. Like the previous example, where appending block ciphers led to recognizable patterns, encryption of large files can as well. With statistical properties like index of coincidence and histograms, we can reveal similar patterns if we just have enough data encrypted with the same symmetric key. This is also why encryption schemes like envelope encryption exists. It addresses exactly such issues. Here, we are encrypting our data with a one-time data encryption key. Then we encrypt our data encryption key with a key encryption key, also known as a master key. And then we put both the encrypted data and the encrypted data encryption key into an envelope. This limits the symmetric key reusage and changes the security strings dramatically. We are no longer vulnerable to these statistical properties and histograms that led to these recognizable patterns that we saw before. It also gives us the ability to do master key rotation. We can now re-encrypt the data encryption key without re-encrypting all the data. It's a key encapsulation mechanism as you know it from other key management systems like Azure Key Vault and Amazon KMS. This is exactly what we do when you're running our cloud offering, when you're running Next as a service. All disks are encrypted using envelope encryption. Data encryption keys are uniquely generated per I/O write operation, and again encrypted using our key encryption key that is securely stored in Azure Key Vault using customer managed keys. Our master key is an elliptic curve key pair, which is FIPS 186-4 compliant. It's rotated every 6 months, and if we have a reasonable suspicion that a key leak has taken place, we can rotate our key material instantly. In addition, we are also using envelope encryption inside Next. This is in the layer above the infrastructure, so protection beyond the platform to ensure that sensitive data are inaccessible even for the personnels with direct platform access. It's a new type of data. It's for secrets that must be kept secure, secrets that shouldn't leave Next, and importantly, only available for those who really need them. In the start, we are using it to securely store passwords and security tokens for external systems, but in the future it could be other sensitive data such as metadata or similar. Examples of sensitive data we often see are credentials for databases, mail servers, Active Directories, or other business critical systems such as your ERP system. Public key encryption falls under the category Asymmetric cryptography. A classical example is whenever you are browsing a secure website, you are using TLS. When you're signing a document, you are probably using RSA or elliptic curve. It has many use cases, but these are probably the one that you see the most. And just to clear it out, a typical misunderstanding, you do not encrypt data using public-private keys. You are encrypting a symmetric key that is then used to encrypting your data. It's also known as an ephemeral key or a session key. Actually, a cipher like RSA for a 1024-bit key, you would actually only be able to encrypt 117 bytes of data. And it pretty much limits the usage, but it has a perfect size for encrypting your symmetric key and other key material like message digest and so on. A classical example of an asymmetric cipher is RSA. It has been widely used for the last couple of decades. It's simple, it's well proven, and for a long period it has actually been the only real choice you have. It's quite simple, and in its basic form, the private key consists of multiplying two very big prime numbers, whereas the public key is the result of this multiplication. The security lies in this one-way function, also known as a trapdoor function, where it's actually close to impossible to factoring a very large number into the two prime numbers it originated from. Let's take 17, multiply it with 23. It's very trivial, very fast. But finding the private key from only knowing the public key is extremely difficult and could potentially take forever. Which two prime numbers would be multiplied in order to get the result 377? And remember, these prime numbers are between 300 to 600 digits long. An alternative to RSA is elliptic curve cryptography. It's a little younger, but it has actually first been widely adopted within the last decade. It is indeed more complicated than RSA, but it has a lot of other strengths. If you compare the two, you will notice that elliptic curve has far smaller key sizes than RSA in order to achieve the same security strengths. With RSA 2048, that most people are using today, you would have 112 bits of security compared with a symmetric cipher like AES. So if you would like to achieve 256 bits of security like you do with AES, you should actually use a 15,000-bit RSA key. Compared with elliptic curve, a 521-bit key would actually give the exact same security strengths. And again, if you compare the performance cost ratio with RSA, it's actually 64 times slower to achieve the same thing. Of course, if you are using a 1024-bit RSA key, it would be faster, but who is actually doing that? So according to a lot of security experts out there, RSA is heading towards its end of tenure, not only because of this, but also because of a lot of other issues like problems with entropy. Since we are within the topic of data in transit, I believe it would be in its place to mention authentication protocols. As you probably already know, Next supports a variety of authentication protocols, but mandatory for them all, they are not at all secure unless data in transit is protected using HTTPS. So remember, always enforce HTTPS, and it's also on the inside of your perimeter. Suspicious code runs so many places, but we tend only to detect the one making detectable harm. But they could as easily be the man in the middle, and if you should forget to enable this, it would be close to as easy for the right person to break this as if you were sending the password in plain text. So remember, embrace SSL on always, also on the inside. So now to the more contemporary cryptography. Is quantum computers a threat to cybersecurity? It's actually a really good question. Some experts would without any doubt say yes, and the same would we at Nextway. But first let's recapitulate a little bit about what quantum computers is and how they work. Quantum computers are extremely good at executing many computations in parallel if and only if there is one result. So as an example, it's really bad for sorting data, but it is actually exceptionally good for prime factorization. And this is exactly why it's dangerous, because prime factorization, as we heard before, is the fundamental security constraints of the RSA algorithm. But where are we right now? Here in 21, we are at 100 qubits, but Google has actually already announced a 1000 qubit quantum computer in the end of 2023. But far more important, it comes with grid capabilities, so they are planning to build this quantum grid with the size of a basketball court. It is still unknown how many qubits they will end up with, but they are indeed getting closer to this dangerous zone where it's a threat to the cybersecurity. Other companies like Cold Cortana is also building quantum computers, but they are actually using a quite different technique. They're using a technique called cold atoms. With lasers, they are cooling and arranging these atoms so they can run computations on them. How they're doing it is actually not that important, but the fact that they're able to build quantum computers without this enormous cooling systems, so it fits into an ordinary rack, means that quantum computers are getting more and more mainstream. And this is also why there is so much talk out there about post-quantum cryptography. Algorithms like RSA and key exchange using Diffie-Hellman is directly impacted by this. Remember, you have probably already done hundreds of Diffie-Hellman key exchange today due to TLS, even when you're watching this video stream, and this is exactly why this is so important. Currently, they're not that far in the process of breaking RSA nor Diffie-Hellman, but this is mainly due to the lack of qubits. From a theoretical perspective, everything is ready, we just need more qubits. As an example, Google took this very well-known problem. It's ideal for quantum computers, and they solved it on a 54-qubit computer in just 200 seconds. They claimed it would take the supercomputer IBM Summit 10,000 years to solve the exact same problem. And well, of course, IBM announced some week later that they solved this problem in 2.5 days. But it's still quite interesting that quantum computers, which in its development process most of all is comparable with the 17th computer that filled up whole apartments, is still able to beat one of the fastest supercomputers on Earth with magnitudes. Especially when you take into account that IBM solved this by dividing the problem up in 250 petabyte storage and not by raw CPU power. This brings me back to NIST, the organization behind all the FIPS recommendations. It was them who standardized encryption, first the data encryption standard known as DES, and later on AES. The advanced encryption standard was actually a competition where candidates around the world submitted their algorithms. 2 Belgian cryptographists won, and the algorithm Rheindal was selected in 2001 and became the new advanced encryption standard. But more important, right now we are in the finals for the next generation of quantum resilient algorithms, the replacement of public key encryption as we know it today. NIST are in this year running the exact same competition as they did with AES. Now it's just a matter of protecting ourselves against the quantum threat to public key cryptography. They started with 69 contributors, and now they're in round 3 with 7 finalists back. 4 public key encryption algorithms and 3 digital signature algorithms. Other new standards are also arriving. Hybrid certificates for the transition, containing both public keys as we know them today, but also quantum resistant keys. So it's a kind of hybrid certificate that will work as you're used to, but at the same time also will be ready for the future. So a lot of things are actually happening right now, and the future is definitely not going to be simpler. There will be different algorithms for the same problem, but where the uses are all important for the choices we make. Of course, the standards are not ready yet, but it will without any doubt be one of the biggest cryptographic changes we have seen for the last 2 decades. So better be prepared. The way we are doing it today will definitely not be the same in the future. If you should have any questions or just need something to be clarified, so do not hesitate to contact me. Okay, before I end my session, I'll just recap a few findings. You do all have documents to protect, trade secrets or other sensitive personal information. Protecting your IT infrastructure is indeed vital, but it can't stand alone, and it will definitely not be enough. Because out-of-the-box standard encryption is not good enough. It's far too often too simple and too unsecure. And with quantum computer coming around, it's looking even more bleak. But rest assured, at Nextway we are indeed up to the challenge. Next will keep your documents safe. So no reason to lose a good night's sleep over this. Thank you all for watching. Have a nice day.
Kyllä, nykyisin sinun on todella pidettävä huolta asiakirjoistasi. Roistoja ja rikollisia on kaikkialla. Ja voit olla varma, että me teemme kaikkemme huolehtiaksemme asiakirjoistasi, kun ne ovat Nextissä. Kiitos Torben. Seuraava ja seminaarimme viimeinen esitys on katsaus tulevaisuuteen. Pääsemme kurkistamaan uusimpiin kehityskohteisiin, mihin ohjelmistolaboratoriomme tällä hetkellä keskittyy. Kim, ole hyvä.
Hi, I've been given 15 minutes to take you through some of the great new stuff coming to Next Digital Workplace over the course of the next 12 months or so. In just 15 minutes, I can't mention it all. I hope you agree with my selection. In the products division, we are juggling quite a few balls to bring you the best possible next. Artificial intelligence, mobile technologies, cloud services, and a vast amount of new integration possibilities. And helping you to fight cybercrime, secure compliance, and improve user experience at the same time. All in all, to bring you the best possible digital workplace. I've grouped the new stuff into 4 headlines. Next as a service, the next portfolio, integrations, and finally the user experience. First topic, enhancing our Next as a service offering. Maybe you already knew, or maybe you saw the piece on Tom. But anyway, let me spend just 30 seconds explaining exactly what Next as a service is. Today, the vast majority of our customers run Next on their own servers, or in a hosting center, or at a cloud provider of their own choice. We call that Next run by you. Next as a service is the opposite, if you can say that. With Next as a service, we run Next for you and deliver access to Next as a service. Hence the name, Next as a service. Why people want to do that is a topic for a whole different seminar. But Tom mentioned, no new infrastructure to buy, no new infrastructure to implement, no new infrastructure to run, to update or to keep secure. Everything is handled by Nextway and Microsoft. And it is handled by Microsoft because our cloud is Microsoft Azure, run out of their data centers in Frankfurt because of GDPR. Then we can keep your data inside EU. And not that we don't trust Microsoft, but we encrypt everything with our own keys just to be on the safe side. Right now, Next as a service is running on traditional virtual machines in Azure. A number of customers shares a server, and when more capacity is needed, a new server is commissioned. For us to roll out a new instance takes minutes. In the near future, we will take this even further into the cloud. Next is being containerized, with each functional element being delivered in a separate container using Docker technology. Running Next in Azure Kubernetes services allows us to efficiently provide unlimited scalability and true 24/7 operations. The first component, the Next transformation engine, is almost ready in Docker. Having a containerized transformation engine lets us automatically spin up new instances in seconds if something fails, or more users than normally are making PDF copies or extracting data from emails, and throttle down automatically when demand is diminishing. This is true cloud-native behavior. Our investment in Next as a service also benefits you who have no intentions of onboarding. For us to deliver SaaS solutions in Azure, we must be even better at delivering standard configuration based on best practice. Release after release, you will see more and more support for prepackaged solutions. Less and less need for custom setup. When the new PDF watermark feature is released, it is automatically included with all Next installations. If you then want the feature, it's only a question of flipping the switch. PDF watermark activated. You also benefit if you want to run Next in the cloud, just not our cloud. Maybe you already run stuff with Oracle, with IBM, or Google, or Amazon. Then you can choose to run Next alongside, and it makes good sense. Still, you'll benefit from the new Docker and container support. Enough about cloud and SaaS. Let's move on to the portfolio. Our Next products. Currently, 8 individual products helping you to go all digital. As mentioned, Next as a service will run in Azure, and in a few weeks, this applies to all of our products, the entire portfolio. All these products also benefit from the general enhancements to the Next platform. Smart filters, making business log and access logs real easy to use. New and dramatically improved data forms, where we can have data from within Next and also external systems side by side. Standardized tags for confidentiality settings and GDPR tagging on document level, just to name a few. The individual Next products also get their specific enhancements. Take Next Invoices as an example. We recently announced automatic smart suggestions for coding of invoices based on your coding history. This will be enhanced with the ability to make any one of these suggestions into a named coding template, making daily handling even faster and more secure. For construction companies and others running projects with strict cost control, Next Invoices will soon be extended with a module to handle booking on projects, tasks and subtasks. Together with real clever self-learning smart delegations, so that Next automatically and without any definition learns who will approve what for what subtasks. In addition to our current header level 3-way purchase order match, we now add line level purchase order match to Next Invoices, with automatic identification of discrepancies on line and item level, with the option to resolve these discrepancies directly in Next or in your ERP system. That's also a new for Next. On popular request, we include with Next Invoices 10 standard Power BI reports designed to support online follow-up on your purchase invoices and their vendors. And much more will come. For all of our products, we offer a wide variety of extensions, some for free and some for a fee. Many of these extensions will also get enhancements over the coming month. The PDF archive option is enhanced with the watermarking feature I mentioned before, making it so easy to mark anything that comes out of the archive with an identifying watermark. Dynamic permission control gets a set of new and crazy smart role-based capabilities. If you tell to what project your documents belong, and you maintain a list of who are project's participant and project managers, Next can automatically and dynamically assign permissions to the documents. Who is allowed to do what with each document? Totally automatically. Crazy smart. And our email captures are now being enhanced with state-of-the-art OAuth based authentication. Security is important, period. New extensions are also added to the catalog. Compound documents will allow you to archive complete projects made in tools like AutoCAD, InDesign or Premiere Pro, retaining the original complex folder structure from those products. Compare documents will let you compare 2 documents in the archive, or 2 versions of the same document to reveal any changes. For one-sided documents, this comes totally for free. For multi-page, you'll have to pay a little. Finally, brand new products. If you saw the piece on SpiegelTech, you have learned that Next now has the capability to support digital project collaboration among professional specialists, engineers, architects, or graphical designers. These capabilities we now wrap into a new product called Next Projects. Lightweight versions of this, tailored for managing product information and customer information, will be available as Next PIM, Product Information Management, and Next CRM, Next Customer Relation Management, for those in need of a very lightweight, easy way of collecting data and documents around the products, customers, and prospects. Finally, once we have finalized our enhanced support for huge videos, we will release Next Media Hub for those of you who want to have full control of all your valuable media files. This way, we are extending the typical users of Next with the specialists from engineering, from products, from sales, and from marketing, making Next a true enterprise archive for everyone in the company. Integration has always been a Next stronghold. At Nextway, we believe strongly that the full benefit of a digital workplace is only realized if you integrate it with the other components of your IT landscape. We already have standardized integrations to numerous general ERP systems from SAP to Business Central, and several customers who benefit from Next's unique ability to connect to multiple ERP systems at the same time, maybe running SAP in the main business and different versions of Business Central in select business units. Also, industry-specific solutions are on the list, both in insurance and in finance and logistics, and more are joining all the time. Today we have a full and tight integration with Microsoft Office. We are working hard to make the same thing happen for Google Workspace. Now the real big stuff is connections for SharePoint, Microsoft Teams, and Salesforce CRM. All three of these integrations allow you to work seamlessly with the documents from your enterprise archive. The Salesforce connector is the one closest to delivery. It will be ready in a few weeks. With this, you have a new configurable Salesforce Lightning component that lets you access any documents related to an account or a contact in Salesforce, or in the case of insurance companies, a policy or a claim. This allows you to view even very complex documents like emails with attachments directly and seamlessly in Salesforce, and still only have one original. Actually, we handle almost any combination of documents from either Next or Salesforce, and soon also Teams and SharePoint. Next is the enterprise archive for all your systems. Enough about integrations. Let's move on to the UX, the user experience. We have made a promise to all of you. Next must be easy to use. To deliver on that promise, we are constantly adding new features and fine-tuning existing features. With NextGo, our app for Android and iPhone, we took a giant leap forward, gave you secure and easy access to all your documents and tasks. Extremely fast and easy to use. And remember, this app with its standard configurations is free to use. Free as in €0. In the next month, we will add the ability to add new documents into Next using Go. Take a photo and 1, 2, 3, it's archived in Next. Take an email on your mobile and 1, 2, 3, it's archived in Next. Today, you access Next Go with your user ID and password. But in the coming month, we will add enterprise single sign-on using OAuth to the Next Go, allowing you to handle it as any of your other enterprise apps. The cards design used in NextGo have already inspired us to bring cards and thumbnails to the Next UI. For some documents, it makes so much more sense to see the card layout and the thumbnail than the original lists. The feature is so new that you have probably not yet seen it in Next. And already we are planning enhancements. In this coming release, every single list of documents in Next, whether it's a folder or it's a search result, can have multiple views. And with a click, you can swap between those views. List view 1 List View 2, List View 3, Card View, whatever you prefer. And soon, real soon, a few releases from now, you could also choose the pie chart view. Yes, showing your list of invoices as a pie chart, or showing your currency positions as a pie chart directly in Next. Because graphs just makes it easier to get a fast overview. And fast overview of Next is something many have requested. That's why we now add a customizable Next dashboard. From a catalog of standard tiles, each highlighting a single element in Next, you choose what should be in your dashboard and what should not be, making it so much easier for you to get an instant overview of your Next. Along the same lines, making things easier, with this coming release, we are improving our default search, the search that you find on top of every list of documents in Next, from folders or searches. We make it into a Google-like search that searches for everything in the documents, and with a one-click option to include even full text. With this, the default search in many cases will be the only thing you will ever need. That's until you see our new and all-powerful global search. A completely new search field added to the very top of the Next UI, letting you with one click search the entire Next for the terms and phrases you want to look for, and still get your answers in the blink of an eye. Global search will not replace structures, but it for sure will be a powerful tool to explore what's in your enterprise archive. That was it. The selection of new features I chose to present to you today. I could also mention the new stuff coming for Contract with its recurring events, to Processes with its templates, to Mailroom with its AI-based named entity recognition, to Enterprise Archive with its digital signature, and also the brand new casework options. But I only have 15 minutes, not a full day. So let's recap what we did see. We saw Next is coming to Azure and to the Azure cloud big time, and bringing standard configurations to everyone. We saw lots of new and enhanced products and extensions, inviting more people into the enterprise archive. We saw powerful integrations with Teams, SharePoint and Salesforce, consolidating Next as the enterprise archive for all your systems. And some rather nifty things to bring the user experience to a whole new level. Global search and dashboard are just the most visible ones. All of this and much more is documented for you in News in Next. Look up nextway.software, choose News in Next to learn about all the new and upcoming features. And trust me, there's a lot coming your way, all aimed at bringing you the best possible digital workplace for the future. My time is up. I could talk on this for hours. If you'd like to know more, give me a call. If you have great suggestions, do the same. Thank you for your time. Bye.
Kiitos Kim. Lyhyesti sanottuna Next Digital Workplace on jo melko loistava. Etkä ole nähnyt vielä mitään. Seuraavan 12 kuukauden aikana on taas paljon uutta ja jännittävää kehitystä luvassa. Ja kaikkien julkaisujemme sisällöistä voit lukea verkkosivuiltamme kohdasta News in Next. Siinä se oli 90 minuuttia intensiivistä verkkoseminaaria ja paljon tietoa. Kiitokset Sten, Henrik, Marcel, Torben ja Kim, kun kerroitte, miten voimme edistää digitaalista työskentelyämme. Ja suurkiitokset Storm, Spiegeltech, Sveitsin lainantakausosuuskunnat ja Kellerhaus Karard tarkkojen yksityiskohtien jakamisesta kanssamme. Tekniikka on tylsää, ihmiset ja tosielämän liiketoiminta eivät. Kiitos. Toivon, että sait paljon irti What's Next 2021 verkkoseminaaristamme. Kaikki näkemäsi tulee saataville verkkosivustollemme videoina, uudelleen katsottavaksi ja jaettavaksi muiden kanssa, sinun käyttöösi. Ja muista, jos sinulla on kysyttävää, ota meihin yhteyttä. Voit olla yhteydessä keneen tahansa ja milloin hyvänsä. Otamme myös opiksi palautteestasi Joten lähetämme sinulle lyhyen palautekyselyn. Täytä se, kun se saapuu postilaatikkoasi. Lupaan, että sen täyttäminen ei kestä kauan. Kiitos ajastasi ja mahtavaa loppupäivää. Toivottavasti nähdään taas pian.